So this is going to be an analysis of my 12th, 13th and 14th races. These were races I did this week. They were all just crit races. So on Tuesday I was back in Tameside, and there was two races I was able to do that day. So I was able to do the Cat 2, 3, 4 race, and then immediately after that I was able to enter the Cat 4 only races. I had 11 points going into that race, and you need 12 points to move from Cat 4 to Cat 3. So I was still officially a Cat 4. So I was able to enter that race, and ended up getting the win in that race, which is cool. And then the next day, I was in Nottingham for a different crit race, and that was going quite well, but unfortunately had to DNF. Has had a mechanical issue, so have a look at the data file. But I was only racing for 20 minutes, but racing quite well that day. Just unfortunate to have a mechanical, but now I've figured out what's wrong, so hopefully it's not going to happen again. So the race at Tameside, like I said, I did two races. It started out with the Cat 2, 3, 4 race, and it was hard this week. There was definitely some stronger riders that showed up, and it just meant that it was kind of full gas from the start, and really hard to hold on. The other weeks I'd just been able to, even though like my tactics hadn't been great, I'd been pretty much at the back most of the race. I was still able to hold on and maintain contact throughout. Whereas today, on this race, like splits just happened and I missed the move. Now I know why I missed the move. There was, I guess, there were some newer riders that, I mean, having done this race, having turned up to the race since the first one of the series, like I'm recognizing which riders are showing up multiple times. There's a couple of newer riders, and I clipped in fine off the line, which is good because it's something I've been working on, because I'd messed it up the previous week. But starting closer to the back, I clipped in successfully, and then started getting on with it, moving up. But I found myself behind a slower rider who wasn't as familiar with the course, and my hesitation of just sitting behind them for a couple of corners, even if it was less than 30 seconds, that was enough for them to just open up a gap. They were just like breaking through a corner where you don't need to break, and it was my fault for hesitating really. But the fact I was stuck behind them meant that a gap was opened and I wasn't able to chase back on. I think lots of splits were happening early on, and I was able to cover some of them. But then it was when I got stuck behind a rider that I just wasn't able to cover the main split to the main peloton, which was a bit frustrating. But now I just know, even though just need, if that happens again, I just need to find a way around that rider as soon as possible, and then just start working to catch back up to the main peloton. As even though I know you can work quite successfully by yourself on this course, if the front peloton are working well together, they're staying away. It doesn't. You don't need. I guess it was a bit windier than normal, so the benefit of being in the peloton was greater. But it was mainly just strong riders in the peloton, which is why I needed to make the split today, and unfortunately I didn't. So yeah, I ended up kind of surfing off the back. So what in this race? It's a 40 lap, 55-minute race, and there's a prime at halfway. So 20 laps in, there's a sprint competition, and I think there's some prize money for the winner of that sprint. So I spent the first half of this race actually really trying to chase back on, even though I was planning on doing the race afterwards. I was still working hard with to try and get back on. Didn't really find anyone to work with, which is unfortunate because I'd roll a few turns with some guys, and I'd just be doing 90% of the work, or a guy would come onto the front, and then he's just doing so little work that there's no chance of us chasing back. So I'd attack them and just try and bridge solo. But yeah, I found myself chasing with a couple of people. Some people were still trying to chase back on. I think it probably maybe like 15 minutes in, I found myself with another guy who was relatively motivated to chase back on. So we were just rolling turns, working together. And my aim was, right, there's a good chance they play games, they sit up. They might sit up before after the prime or before the prime, as they're both all wanting to contest the sprint. So I was thinking work for the first half, really try and catch back on, as there was a possibility to catch back on, and they were in sight the whole time. But yeah, just wasn't able to close that gap, which was I tried though. And then after the prime, I knew they were away, so I'd kind of given up on my chase. That's why I'd split here, lapped it here, as this was me chasing back on. So 380 average, 400 normalized. So really was working hard to try and chase back on, and being in smaller groups off the back, I was able to take good lines through the hairpin. It's just so much nicer being able to take your own line through this hairpin rather than being stuck behind the peloton, to be honest. But like, you're not going to win if you're not with the peloton, so it swings and roundabouts. So after failing to catch back on, I knew I was doing the next race, so I didn't just sit up and pull out. Kept riding, so 320 average, 330 normalized, keeping the speed decently high, but riding with myself, riding with some other riders, but just bringing it into the finish really, and did end up getting lapped by the peloton once, and then they almost came past just before the finish as well. But yeah, it just shows that, like, you don't know who's going to show up on the day, but there's a potential for a strong field to show up, and it's going to be a hard race. So on a day like today, you just needed to make that front split, and I was trying to make the front split. I could see it happening. I just unfortunately got stuck behind someone who I should have just instinctively, like, I need to get past this guy as soon as possible, and I just hesitated too much, and it cost me being up there. And I ended up coming 15th overall. So there's a good chance that if I was in that main peloton, I could have made a top 10. But as other riders probably were getting dropped from that peloton, it was probably reduced to maybe 12 riders by the end or something. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that would have worked with points, because I don't know if I would have qualified to, if I got a top 10, got 1 point, and then I'd maybe be a cap 3, and then I might have got no points for competing in the cap 4 race, cap 4 only race. So yeah, maybe it was a tactically good decision to not get a top 10 in this race. But yeah, showing up next Tuesday, I really want to aim for, well, definitely be in the front peloton, and then try and make some moves, obviously, and try and secure a top 10. That'd be really solid. That's something to aim for in the next couple of weeks. I think I'm doing there's meant to be a cap 3-4 race instead of cap 4 only this coming week, so it'll be good to enter that as well, and I'll double up again. It's funny on the start when you start the second race 5 minutes after 8 minutes after the first one, everyone the commissaires are just like, why are you doing 2? Are you crazy? It's like, yeah, pretty much. Okay, so yeah, had a short rest, and then on to the next race, and this was a cap 4 only race. And again, got off well, clipped in first time, which was good because I'd been fucking that up. But yeah, and I could tell that I was definitely the strongest, or one of the strongest riders in the field, and I was on the front, or the first 8 wheels for the whole race, and able to ride my own pace, sort of thing, on the front. Able to make moves off the front, so just inserting taking a nice line through the hairpin, and then also inserting a little bit of speed out of the hairpin as well, just because I'm used to having to sprint out the hairpin when I'm having to keep up with the big boys in the Cat 2, 3, 4. So I'd able to drop the rider in front of me and just have them work a little bit harder behind me. But yeah, I was kind of rolling attacks constantly, doing either inserting some pace off the front to drop the guy behind a little bit, or even just like rolling through and attacking off the front a little bit. So I kept it very honest. So I was attacking these guys constantly, but I wasn't actually able to get away. I mean, fair play to the peloton, like they stuck together, and I was basically just stringing it out for the race, and it was mostly all together. Maybe like 30 riders still there. Obviously, the occasional rider getting lapped, but generally people were. It was all staying together, and I was just making it hard for them. But I wasn't able to get away. I was assuming that a reduced group from my from me making the race hard a reduced group would end up getting away, but it wasn't the case. It was just strung out really. But yeah, none of my attacks were successful, but they were definitely put some nails in the legs of the other riders, which is good. And then I can't remember what attacks I made, but had a few decent attacks that were close to getting away, but end up being brought back in. And then so I decided to just attack on the final lap. So it might have been this. That looks like one. Yeah. So just this final lap, I just coming into the bell lap, just attacked over the. I'd shifted back a little bit, maybe in fifth, sixth, seventh wheel, something like that. So just attacked over them and just went hard for a lap. So it was a decently fast lap, 45k an hour. Sprinting out of all the corners and just not looking back really. The main thing is I just wanted to get to the hairpin in first so I could take my own line through it. So it's very weird because I know how difficult it is being further back in the line and how much speed you lose. But in this race, there were some guys diving up the inside and taking some pretty poor lines and running wide out of the corners. So I understand why people get annoyed, people going up the inside. But when I go up the inside, I feel like I don't drift wide. But yeah, I can see why it's a contentious thing. But yeah, I just wanted to get there first, take my own line through the corner, take it nice and smooth. But I was just on the gas out of all the corners and not looking back really. It wasn't the most intelligent attack really. If the peloton were motivated and working together, they would have been able to bring me back. But with it being just a Cat 4 only race, and I was kind of the quality rider in the field. I mean, it was just able to stay away. But in the 2, 3, 4 race, that sort of attack wouldn't work. Especially at that stage in the race on the final lap when everyone's motivated. That sort of attack could work if it goes at the right time when people are sitting up and not wanting to do work. But when everyone's motivated, that sort of attack isn't going to go. So it's a good attack and good to be able to ride like that. But like I say, it wouldn't have been strong enough to do well in a stronger field. So understanding, recognizing the opportunities of when it's a really good opportunity to go for an attack, and taking that rather than just the opportunity where everyone wants to go. But yeah, was able to hold on. Used my power and got the first win, which was nice. Got myself 10 points and upgraded to a Cat 3. So it was a decently successful day out. But now it's going to be doing those harder races, the Cat 2, 3, 4s, the Cat 3, 4s, and then in the next few weeks and months, I want to start doing some Nat B races, which are the 1, 2, 3s, and by the end of the year, I want to be competitive in the Nat B races. That's a big goal I'm really aiming for, to be able to hold my own in those really difficult races. So yeah, it was a decent showing here at Tameside, but I mean it was just Cat 4 only race, so not too crazy. But like I say, I'm learning the circuit, getting better at it, and hopefully in the next few weeks I'll start being able to be up there in any of the races I enter. But yeah, good outing, good training session. 1 hour 35 and 320 average, 360 normalized. You're working hard, you're getting fit. That's why I'm this racing block that I'm doing. There's not many training sessions, but there's lots of racing, and a race is a very good training session at the end of the day. Big week of training. Probably one of my biggest ever. 22 hours and over 1,000 TSS. So really ramping it up, but hopefully a little bit under control, and ramp it up, get fit for the summer. And the other race I did this week, which was race 14, the very next day in Nottingham actually. So first time going to this new circuit, and seeing how we did there. Actually went there on the train, which worked out pretty well. So yeah, this was a Cat 3-4 race, and it's actually a really big field, close to 40 or 50 riders maybe. Definitely felt like a lot. Lots of people turned up on the day. Ended up starting on the back row, but able to clip in straight away and get going, but having to work hard to get around riders straight away, and making sure I was covering gaps off the front, because there was the guys on the front were working hard to rip it to shreds and making sure I was just making contact. So seeing when wheels were opening up and people were letting go of the wheel and realizing that was when I needed to commit my energy to get around them and maintain contact. And I did that really well. I actually think. So I was at the back of the front group, starting on the back row and navigating past riders who were falling off. But I was in that front group and yeah, riding quite well. It was a good workout. It was so 350 average, almost 400 normalized, which is pretty good. Yeah, over 400 normalized. So yeah. But unfortunately in this race, so I have this hairpin here, during one of the laps. So probably the last lap before I pulled out, I took this hairpin. It's actually a very fast hairpin, so you don't pull any brakes going into the hairpin. You just lean into it and conserve your speed. But I took the hairpin like normal, taking the racing line through it, coming wide, going into it, taking a late apex on midway through the hairpin. But I felt my rear wheel like lose grip. So my rear wheel would like skid out. So obviously I get the bike more upright and have to take a worse line out of the corner. So I end up running wide out the corner, and guys behind me are like, whoa, 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 because I'm like forcing them wide because of me running wide. And I was obviously apologetic. Thankfully, didn't cause any crashes, but it's not good to deviate your line like that. And it was just because my rear wheel was skidding out, and like I had to do that to hold. Felt like I had to do that to hold the bike up. It didn't click two and two together as to what was going on. So just kept going. Thought it was just a one-time thing that I got lucky to save it, and then got to this hairpin here on the same lap, and yeah, rear wheel skidded out again. Had to run wide, and that's when the guy behind me was like, "You got a rear flat," and I think that was the guy who had lent me his track pump, as I knew I had a leak on my rear wheel with the latex tube, but I just thought it was a latex tube that was losing a bit more air pressure than normal, and that'd be absolutely fine for the race. I didn't realise that I could lose enough pressure that it would be detrimental to my cornering, but it just shows that like a loss of 20 or 30 psi, and yeah, you're losing grip, which isn't good. I sorted that now. It was a loose valve core, which was a bit annoying, but yeah, it was riding well today. Yeah, it was a really hard race. It was hard from the gun, and having to work my way from the back to try and be in contention. So yeah, having to make big moves, and but I feel like I was doing a decent job of sitting on riders and not doing all the work myself. Like yes, I was working hard, heart rate wise, but not on the limit. And I felt pretty calm and under control really, and I was feeling pretty good until until the time that I pulled out. But like after being told that yeah, it was a rear flat by a guy behind, I'm like, shit, I'm at danger of crashing, and I'm also at danger of causing other people to crash. So it was the right call to just pull out there. But I'll be back again at this circuit this week. So they're running races here for 5 weeks. So hopefully I should, and it'll be a big field again. So it'd be good to be up there in this race because yeah, it looked like a good one. So looking forward to getting back here because yeah, big sprint still needed out of, even though you're conserving more speed than compared to Tameside through these hairpins, like you're still having to work hard and it's quite exposed, so very windy, and yeah, just a solid Cat 3-4 field to be up against, and learn some race tactics. So yeah, enough said really. Just turn up again next week and see how I can do better.